What's going on, guys? I want to thank you for coming back to the channel. And if you're here for the first time, I want to thank you too. So what I want to do today is I want to go through my top 10 Marvel Legends in general that I have in my collection. And this idea was brought on me by a subscriber who's been asking it for a long time. So, shout out to you. And, I hope you enjoy it. So with that being said, this top 10, I made it not by value, not by what I thought other people would like. I made this top 10 because these figures actually mean something to me. And the way I came up with that was basically like, if I had to only pick these 10 and leave the rest, these would probably be the 10 that I walk out with, and that's how I made this list. So I hope you enjoy it, and let me know in the comments what are your top 10 figures, and let me know also, do you like mine? Starting off with number 10 is gonna have to go to Venom, and not just any Venom, but this particular Venom is the one that came in the 3-pack with Riot and the pink symbiote. I forgot her name right now, but this is the Venom that really does it for me. And why is that? Because this is the one that reminds me of the comic books. I feel like the head sculpt reminds me of the real Eddie Brock, while at the same time, the symbiote reminds me of the real Venom. Even when the mask is going over his face, it looks kind of like the movie, but it looks kind of like the cartoon. And I got a bunch of Venoms. I think I got like 5 or 6, but this is the one that really does it for me. If I had to give all the rest up, this is the one I would keep, hands down by far. Even the one that just came out on the retro card back, I didn't even bother picking it up because I just feel like it just looks a little off to me, and I still like this one better. So if I had to pick any Venom, this is the one that I'm walking out with. He's number 10 on the list. I wish he could have been higher, but he can't. Number 9 is gonna have to go to Brown Suit Wolverine. And this is not the retro card back. This is the one that came with the Juggernaut wave. And I know there are plenty of Wolverines that are way better than this one. This one is dated. This one is old. This one is small. This one has pins. But guess what? This is still the one that I would walk off with. And why is that? Because he has a story. I can remember very clear when I was trying to put my first Juggernaut together, and it was the Build-A-Figure, and all I needed was one piece, the head, and it came with this guy. Like at that time, this Wolverine was going for like 100, 120, sometimes even more than that. And I was like, yo, I am not gonna pay that for this Wolverine. So you already know, I need a Wolverine and I need a Juggernaut. And this guy came out, X-Men Wave 1, which is like, this is what started this, right? So I went on Craigslist and I found somebody selling them for $40. And I was like, yo, I'm gonna get up with this guy, right? So boom, we scheduled to meet up at the Target parking lot, like mad far from where I live. I don't care. I brought my daughter with me. When I pull up to the Target parking lot, anybody who knows, he tells me, yo, meet me in the back of the parking lot. And I'm like, back of the parking lot? They usually want to meet in the front. You know what I'm saying? Me being me, I'm like, yo, I'm still pulling up. I remember clearly telling my daughter, I'll be right back, and do me the favor, lock this door when I get out the car. I don't care what you see. You don't open the door until I come back with Wolverine. And she looked at me like, yo, is it that serious? And I look back at her like, yeah, it's that serious. So yeah, this is my favorite Wolverine over Astonishing, over X-Men 97. I mean, I got them all, but if I had to pick one, this is the one that I'm taking off. Number 8 is gonna have to go to Cyber, and that's for a couple of reasons. I mean, I don't know if anybody else likes this guy right here, but I really do. We all know that Wolverine and Sabretooth have a rivalry, but the thing about Sabretooth is that Wolverine is not really scared of him. He has no problem fighting him. Even if Sabretooth puts the smacks on him on his birthday, if he comes and he puts the beats on him, it doesn't make a difference. Wolverine is not scared of Sabretooth. He has no problem going toe-to-toe with him whenever they meet up. When Cyber gets involved, Cyber makes Wolverine's heart skip a beat. Wolverine is scared of Cyber. This guy has adamantium skin. The only part of him that's like kind of vulnerable is his jaw. This guy right here by himself is the reason that I bought a whole 5-pack. Like, I literally did not want anybody else from that 5-pack except Cyber. That 5-pack to me, I already had Omega Red. I wasn't interested in the last guy from the Hellfire Club because I don't even have the Hellfire Club. That's one of my regrets. And then Shorty from the Morlocks, I mean, I could have really did without her. If you would have put her by herself, I would have never picked her up. So you already know, this guy right here has to make my list. I would definitely take him. He may be underrated to other people. They may or may not like him. I don't really care about the body sculpt, the mold. I don't care if it's just a paint over, whatever. I am taking this guy because of the character. So for that reason, he's number 8. Number 7 is gonna have to go to Daredevil, but just not any Daredevil, the Charlie Cox Daredevil. Now, for those of you who may not know, this was my very first Marvel Legend ever. I did not start off collecting Marvel Legends. I actually started off collecting DC Multiverse because I was a Flash fan. I still am. Reverse Flash is my favorite figure, and I started off with that. But one day before Toys R Us closed, I was in there looking for DC Multiverse, and boom, I saw this guy, and I was like, yo, I love Charlie Cox. I love the Daredevil show. And I scooped him up. And that was the beginning of the end, because now Marvel Legends is the #1 thing that I collect. Like, that's my go-to for everything now. So this is the one that started it. How could I not have this guy on the list? And not for nothing, every time another Daredevil comes out, even if he's comic accurate, even if he has a good suit, I mean, I got a couple of Daredevils, but this is still my favorite one. And plus, like I said before, he's my very first Marvel Legend. He has to make the list. Number 6 for me is the Punisher, but not any Punisher. The Jon Bernthal Punisher from the Netflix series. Daredevil and Punisher are the 2 figures that break my rules when I say that comic figures come first. These figures are not comic figures, but they're also not MCU figures. They're Netflix figures. But these are also 2 figures that I feel like have not been outdone. So here's a fun fact. I do not have a comic accurate Punisher. But at the same time, I do not feel like I'm missing anything, because this Punisher for me really does it. I want to say that I got this Punisher right after Daredevil. I mean, probably like a week or 2. So he was up there with my first few Marvel Legends. So you know this guy had to make the list. But man, this Punisher right here does it for me. I would never let this figure go. I would never trade him. I would never sell him. I would never take him off the shelf. He is the one. For that reason, he is number 6. Number 5 on my list is going to Sauron, and the reason why is because he's one of my favorite Builder figures that I have in my collection. He's also one of the only Builder figures that I can clearly remember buying the entire wave only because I wanted the Builder figure. If you guys remember, this guy came in a Deadpool wave, nothing but Deadpools, and let me tell you right now, at that time, I was not the biggest Deadpool fan. Not enough that I wanted a whole entire wave of Deadpools, but guess what? I went out and I bought all of them because I wanted to put this guy together. He's a big part of the X-Men, he's a big part of the Savage Land, and I remember him clearly from when I was growing up, and I was like, yo, I gotta get my hands on this figure. No matter where I put this guy, he stands out. I could put him flying, I could put him standing, no matter where I put him. I could put him in the corner, and you're gonna see him clearly. This guy is one of the best figures I have. I don't see myself putting him away. I don't think they're gonna redo this guy anytime soon, so this guy right here is gonna be on my list for a long time. Moving on up to number 4, and we're gonna have to give it to the Hulkbuster. But let me tell you, this is my favorite Hulkbuster right here. This is the one that I really feel like can go toe to toe with the Hulk. Every other Hulkbuster that I've ever seen done looks wild cheap to me. I'm just telling you. This one has that shine to it, has that feel to it. And the thing about this figure is that it wasn't even a Builder figure. This came in a double pack with the Hulk. So I was able to pick this guy up by himself. And I clearly remember that this guy was going for like $79. I think it was $79.99 at Target, him and Hulk. I don't see them letting this guy go for $79.99 with Hulk no more. I mean, that was I think pre-COVID thing. Now I can see this guy going over $100 with Hulk. By himself, I can see him pushing like $80. Even the new Hulkbuster that's coming out that hasn't even been released yet does not make me feel like this one. All the other plastics look cheap. I don't know. I just don't get that feeling. Like I get that Hulkbuster feeling when I see the other ones. When I see this one, this guy has been in my collection since Age of Ultron. He's an MCU figure and he's still on my shelf. That's telling you something, because you know I'm not big on MCU figures. How anybody can not like this figure, I have no idea, but this one does it for me. He's number 4 on the list only because I have other ones that I really like a little bit more, but this Hulkbuster right here is the best one to me that has ever been made, and this is the one I want on my shelf. I'm never letting this guy go. He is always going to be on Front Street. Number 3 is going to Ghost Rider, the Danny Ketch version. And you already know, this is my favorite figure of 2024 so far. I mean, yo, this figure really does it for me. You guys already know, out of all the figures that I unboxed so far for this year, this is my favorite, and he's probably going to be the favorite at the end of the year. I already had the Johnny Blaze, but this Danny Ketch version is superior in so many different ways that I cannot see myself putting the other one first. I do not see myself not wanting to have this figure after I already had him. I mean, if I didn't have him, I would still want him. But now that I have him, I'm definitely not going to let this guy go. And that's how I make these lists. That's how I know if I want something, because if I'm willing to let it go, then I really don't care for it that much. You know what I'm saying? But if I'm trying to keep this guy and I'm not trying to let him go, whatever, that means he means a lot and I really, really like him. And these are figures that I cannot let go of. I could see myself trying to buy a second one, trying to customize it, trying to make it look better. But this one right here will always be a stock version right there in my glass cabinet next to Johnny Blaze, standing out, tearing up the streets. Number 3 is going to the Danny Ketch Ghost Rider. Number 2 has to go to my Super Skrull Invisible Woman variant. The reason why I didn't open him is because he's clear and I didn't want him to start getting darker or whatever with dust. But my whole Fantastic Four collection is inside the cabinet, so now I'm thinking, well, I could just put him in the cabinet and I'm straight. So I might open him after this. But this is one of my favorite figures. He also has a little story, because I remember that I was going back and forth with a dude on Facebook Marketplace trying to sell this guy to me for like 3 or 4 days, and he was playing games. He had his price a little high, but I was still thinking about doing it, and then whatever, it wound up not going through. Then one day I was in my local comic shop. I looked up and I saw this figure for $45 because it was on consignment, and I was like, yo, I'm snatching this guy right now. Just to be clear, the guy on Facebook wanted more than double that. It was like 90 or something like that. I think it was 100. But I like this figure a lot. It's not a figure that I see in a lot of people's collections. I think a lot of people have let this figure go over their head. And if they do have this figure, they usually don't have this variant. You know, this is the Invisible Woman variant, so it's a little bit harder to get. So I have not seen this figure in people's collections like that. Maybe 1 or 2, or maybe he's just invisible when I haven't seen it. But the whole point is, this is my number 2 figure. I really love this figure. Now I'm starting to think about opening him. I just might do it. But this is my number 2. And number 1 on my list is going to the Renew Your Vows Spider-Man. I mean, listen, I gotta have a Spider-Man in my collection, and out of all the Spider-Man that I have in my collection, this is the one that I feel like is the best. This is the best version of Spider-Man that I've come across, that I have. If I had to pick only one version of Spider-Man to walk around with, it would be this one, because he is the closest that I have to what I remember when I was growing up. I really love everything about this figure. It has the toe hinges, the paint apps, the articulation, the posing. It comes with spinneret. I mean, I really have nothing bad to say about this guy right here. I love this figure. I mean, I love all my other Spider-Man figures too, but at the end of the day, this is more of an original concept when it comes to Spider-Man. I love Symbiote Spider-Man, but I can't have a Symbiote Spider-Man as my only Spider-Man. I love Cyborg Spider-Man, but once again, I cannot have a Cyborg Spider-Man as my only Spider-Man. Those Spider-Man only make sense if I already have my original Spider-Man in place, and this is the one that takes that spot for me. So there's no way I can see myself ever trying to have any kind of number of Marvel Legends without Spider-Man. I mean, he's number 1 on my list. He's also number 1 for a lot of people. Spider-Man is one of the most famous characters, the best-selling characters. He's one of the most well-known characters. If you go anywhere in the world and ask them about a character, they're probably gonna say Spider-Man. Maybe Batman and Superman too, but definitely Spider-Man is in the conversation. So yeah, Spider-Man Renew Your Vows is my number 1 figure out of my top 10 list of the figures that I would keep if I could only have 10. So these are my favorite figures out of my collection, and let me know what you think. And also hit me in the comments and let me know what your top 10 figures are. Until next time, peace.